Horse racing is a great sport, and now you can have a horse in the race. Own a little and love it a lot. TheStable.ca is an award-winning horse ownership experience. Purchase as little as 1% of a racehorse and pay a set monthly fee. No surprises, modest investment, low risk, and completely accessible and transparent operations. TheStable.ca offers a unique, engaging racehorse ownership experience and features great customer service and consistent updates about your horse. Our innovative video production team tracks your horse's training progress, and clients are encouraged to visit the horses at any time. TheStable.ca is right for harness racing, and if you want to have a horse in the race, it's right for you too. For more information about The Stable, email Anthony at TheStable.ca or call 519-400-4263.
Hello, everybody. I got my lucky shirt on. If Johnny Shue is out there watching this, this isn't a replica of the jersey you were supposed to be sent. This is actually the jersey you were supposed to be sent. I never did get around to sending it out to you. Of course, about a month ago, they were doing a charity thing, and we're trying to raise money. And Ryan Macedonia made this. Did a great job making it too. I thought it was really, really cool. I never had it sent out to Johnny. I'm thinking, there's a voice inside me that says, I likely will never send it to you. I'm thinking I might, but for now it's going to stay on me. So I hope that's all right. Anyway, we got a long show, but not a long show. We have an hour show, and the reason it will be exactly an hour tonight is because at 8:30, I'm actually slated to be signing in at Mohawk to drive War We Needy. Now, or War We, I did that the other day too. War We Ultra, I'd love to drive War We Needy in the 8th race tonight. War We Ultra is racing tonight, and I have to sign in at 8:30. The races are going to go a little bit long, plus I get 20-minute grace period, and I'm 15 minutes from Mohawk, just over your shoulder. I'm watching Sebastian, you and yours if you want it, so this might be a live hissy fit, or it might be an elated Anthony in 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So over the next hour, we're going to talk about a number of things. What took place this week, how the horses have been, how they're going, hopefully how they're going to be, where they're racing. We have a number of questions to answer. We'll be talking about the trainers we're sending the horses to, which horses they are, where they're going to be staked. A number of really, really good questions came in, as always. And a number of our clients have called and emailed me directly to ask me certain things that they wanted to know, and I'm always happy to answer them. So, how do you want to kick this off, Kelly? You want to jump right into the questions? No, I'm going to talk just quickly about the horses that raced this week. I'm proud. I'm proud of the 5 horses. You know, lots of trainers are trying to get their horses ready this week, and we had 5 winners. And 5 of the most impressive winners. I personally didn't get to watch Harness AM race. I saw the line. I talked to Danny. He was really impressed. Havana Unana blew me away, how good she was. And we all saw Globetrotting that last quarter in 27-4. That was a super impressive mile. Emerald Miss, for those of you who needed the math done, her last 3 quarters were 124-2. Look at this, yours if you wanted acting up, going behind the gate. Ooh, this horse drives me crazy sometimes. Yeah, he's not fine. He's still being a goof. Now Sebastian Yu's acting up. Anyway, I'm going to try and stay hinged here for a couple of minutes. Oh, that's a weird view. They're way over in the turn. Anyway, a lot went on this week. A lot is about to go on here in another 10 seconds, and then we have racing all week. So I'm going to be off to New Jersey. Great news. We have they both trotted there. No, Sebastian Yu run. James didn't. Ooh, he almost did. We're all watching this live. Sebastian Yu made, yeah, you're watching me watch it live. Sebastian Yu made a tiny miscue at the gate. The problem with Sebastian Yu is a lot of the drivers want to put the horses up in the gate. I don't like putting them up in the gate, especially a horse like him. I want to feed him into the gate. It's hard to do when the gate's walking along. So what happened was Sebastian Yu ended up getting doubled up on the gate, make a break. Anyway, that happens. It's not going to affect him racing in a stake race next week. It may affect my sanity for the rest of the night, but it won't affect the overall picture. There's another one on the run. James, move him. Oh, no, he doesn't have to. James getting a good trip with this colt. Yours if you want it. 14-1. Goodness gracious. Anyway, we're going to dive right into the questions. As I said, I was pretty happy and proud of the horses that raced this week. They did a great job. I think they showed off the hard work that you guys saw the winter we had with all the snow and the ice and missing days, and it was just really, really tough to get through.
Let's do these things.
Yep, we're going to get them. Oh, let me see. Racing events, yeah. So I was really, really proud, and I think you should be too. It showed the professionalism of the horses. There's yours if you want it going there now. Clear into the front. If he behaves himself and his head doesn't fall off his shoulders, he's a winner because he hasn't even pulled the earplugs yet. I doubt he will. No, come on, big guy, behave yourself. Should be good now. We're going to have a short pause here while I watch these horses finish up. Yours if you want it. It's going as fast as he can. The other guy's coming back on. Come on, James! Now he's beat, I think. It's all right. Just keep him trotting. Just keep him trotting. This colt hasn't done too much. So a good night for him. So yours if you want it's going to end up second. He was at the half and won 1 apiece. They went a mile in 59-3. It's a half and 57 apiece, 58 for James. Yours if you want it. He'll be heading to Ohio next week, as will a number of other ones. So Kelly wants me to get to the first items here to speak about. We have the racing events. Obviously, we're going to do something for the Breeders' Crown this year. We're going to make sure that what do you have planned anyway, Kelly?
So there is a survey for the Breeders' Crown.
A survey for the Breeders' Crown?
So they have received notification about that. Just tell them to fill out the survey.
So there's a survey been sent out to you. If you haven't received, what if they haven't received the survey yet?
I will send it again tonight.
Kelly is going to send the survey again tonight to everybody. So when you get that survey, fill it out. It's going to give us an idea of what we're going to do for the Breeders' Crown 2019. Also, unfortunately, with White Tiger being put on the LASEX program, it looks like we're not going to Hambo with White Tiger. There are options for some of our 2-year-olds to possibly race on that program, but the odds are low. I mean, if Spirit of Deal looks tremendous over the next 3 weeks, I believe she has a stake race potentially on that day. I shouldn't say that. Knockdown Dragout is also eligible to race that day. What a mile that was today in Philadelphia, 157-1. Now, to be completely, to be as clear as I possibly can, I was happy, but we all know how fast she is. I would have liked to see her being a little more under control today. I'm going to drive this filly next week, and the last thing I want to do is, and Andrew said to me, he said, she trained so well in 235. I was so happy with her, and then he said I didn't expect her to get like that. He's only had her a week, and I told him, I said, you got to feed her into the gate, and go easy with her. And I think maybe Dave Miller just thought she was going to sashay out of there and go to sleep. But Knockdown Dragout loves her work. It's not that she's a runaway. It's not that she's hot. She's going to be hot a little bit now, but she loves her work, and she loves to beat up on horses. So that's great. My job will be not to have her a runaway because she's not a big filly, as we all know. She's not a giant, and she's only got so many of those miles in her, so many of those quarters in her, and you don't want to be sucking the life out of her in June, and then especially when we have all the money in Kentucky, the Breeders' Crown, and hopeful things for this filly. Got to do it the right way. So next week, win, lose, or draw, you're going to see her, at least me attempt to race her out of a hole or off the pace in the Meadows on Tuesday. She's a smart filly. She's shown it all winter. We've raced her we've trained her out of a hole, trained her from off the pace. She'll be just fine. Also, Kelly has put together an online store that will be coming within the next 4 weeks. We've done this before, but it was kind of in a kind of herky-jerky way. It was never put together perfectly. We did the best we could under the circumstances, but Kelly has a much more efficient plan put in place. So over the next 4 weeks, you're going to see the online store pop up. Licensing reform efforts, we've had enough, right? Before, I was mad and angry. You were mad and angry. But now we have Kelly and Scott who are both focused on working on this problem. They're going to put together a package where we're going to actually put together something to say, this is how we think the licensing should look all over North America, and the only people that can drive that for us are the breeders. And I'm going to explain why. There's a question later on dealing with this. The problem is that New York doesn't care what Anthony McDonald thinks. Neither does Pennsylvania. Neither does Ohio, Illinois. But at the end of the day, they're happy to work with us. Having said that, if we give them, literally give them, a piece of legislation, so to speak, where they could make it their own, but just the bare bones of something they could work with, I think as an industry, we know the biggest problem is getting clients, retaining clients for this industry. It's difficult. We've done what we can to make it as easy as we can for people to get in, to make it as easy as we can for people to stay in and want to stay in. And this is a real hurdle. You know it. We certainly know it. But we need to make sure the industry understands it. And right now, as is, it appears they do not, or a lot of them don't care. And, you know, we've had jurisdictions that have said, well, this is the way we've done it forever. So you don't realize how screwed up the industry is? You don't realize that we have a real problem in this industry? We have problems we can fix in this industry. There are certain problems we cannot. This is not one of them. So we're going to propose that at least jurisdictions take a look at our package that we're putting together and make it their own if they want to. Heaven forbid we'd have a license for the entire industry. Wouldn't that be crazy? But we're not going to be there for a while. But I think maybe this is a stopgap in between there. So hopefully we can work with the industry. Worst case scenario, I think for the people that are buying into multiple jurisdictions next year, maybe we can work with the National Racing Compact and get you guys signed up earlier. I mean, put yourself in our shoes. We're doing all we can. You know, we are a company in Ontario trying to deal with multiple jurisdictions over 2 countries, at least 2 countries, and it's a problem. So we're dealing with it best we can. Again, we'll touch on this a little later on. And it's not, you guys know that I've been hard on New York in the past, but the reason that New York's tough is the same reason Ontario can be tough. For the simple reason is it's a 1% threshold, right? Ohio and Pennsylvania isn't, so you can get all these people licensed, but that doesn't mean it's right. It just means it's easy. So there's that. We're working on this. We're trying to get this package put together. This, you know, the enhancements for the stable and the sites are continuing on a daily, weekly basis. We're trying to make it better. I really appreciate all the feedback we get from our surveys. Plus, when you guys send me emails, I did a call from one of our clients, Steve, today. We talked for quite a while about some of the intricacies of the stable and how it might be streamlined. Really appreciate that. Always appreciate insight from our clients because, as I said to Steve, the stable in 2019 would never have even be thought of in 2015 when we started it, right? We would never ever be able to think that the stable would have grown into what it is. So it's constantly in this state of flux all the time where it's moving and very fluid. And we want to make sure that we make it the best we can for our clients, for ourselves, and for the industry also. And feedback from you is what actually helps us do that. Trainers of the U.S. horses, absolutely, we're going to talk about that. You know, John Boutenshane, Stonebridge Simba was great the other day. He's doing a great job. Andrew continues to do a good job. A hiccup with White Tiger. Obviously, knockdown, drag out. She's a talented filly. She's going down there. Sebastian Yu, who unfortunately just made a break at the gate, he'll be going to his first start at the Meadows. I have them all written down. And what we are planning to do, there's 8 horses going to Tim Twaddle to race at the Meadows next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The reason being, Andrew and John Boutenshane are 8 hours away in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, right? And it makes no sense to me to get these horses ready, ship them 8 hours, and then just have them ship them back 6. Makes more sense just to race them out of the Meadows. So we're going to send the horses to a trainer at the Meadows and race them. I don't know if Tim will be keeping any of these horses, so that's worth talking about. I would say the vast majority of them will go to John Boutenshane, Andrew Harris, obviously Jason McGinnis in Ohio. All the horses will be going to him for Ohio. And then Joe Haney, a couple of our Irish clients know Joe and said, hey, would you be interested in sending a horse to him? I think a horse like Just For Me and You will likely go to Irish Joe Haney. And another horse, doesn't matter, we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, we're also going to talk about the review of the TheStable.ca racing model, our goals, objectives, priorities, challenges, streamlining it, making it better for everybody. We have some great ideas about that. And again, thanks to a lot of our clients for helping us maneuver in that direction. We're going to answer questions gathered from the survey on the registration forms. We're going to answer questions gathered from the chat during the live webinar. So if you want to ask a question, you didn't get a chance in, go on the live chat. It's not hard to get on the chat, is it, Kelly? Get on the chat, send a question to Kelly. She's right here. Curtis is here. We'll get those questions answered for you. So we're going to jump right into it real quick. As I said, 8:30, I have to be out of here to go race Warrawee Ultra. I do have a 20-minute race. The track is 15 minutes from here. I can make it, but I got to leave at 8:30. So seems like the trainers in New York and PA are higher than their prices are higher than the agreed amount. So obviously, when they leave from Canada and go, and you guys know this, but we have a lot of new clients also, and it's important that we go over stuff that you might know from previous years or that were in the contract. But I'm happy that these questions are asked. So obviously, when we're racing the horses are in the United States. The bills come in U.S. funds. It's pretty simple. We have to pay out. Horses are in the United States of America, and also there are incidentals that the trainers charge in Pennsylvania. Now we've worked with Andrew and John about streamlining their billing system so that it doesn't matter whether it's a chiropractor or what it is. This comes in on our total bill. We don't need line items where people can't understand them. It's just it convolutes the entire process. So we're in the midst of working with people on that. Andrew's been good about it. John's working with us. I'm assuming that any trainers we bring on will also be working with us in this regard. As far as the total amount, it's virtually the same. They are a little bit higher, but when you talk about our fee in American funds plus shipping, paddocking, vet, and stake payments, again, those are the four costs that are on your contract, on all our contracts. But I will admit the American trainers are a bit higher. We're really trying to work past that. We thought we had one of our people in line to go to Pennsylvania, but it just didn't work out this year. Hopefully we can put something in place. I can't just ask Joe from Ontario to go take our best horses for Pennsylvania. Would you be comfortable with me sending a horse to somebody, knockdown, drag out, taking our best horse right now just to Pennsylvania and racing? It just doesn't make sense. We're constantly trying to do the best we can. When you look back at Maintenance Man, I wasn't happy with the way Maintenance Man was getting ready to race. We moved the horse to Carmen in here in Ontario. I'll continue to do things like that. I understand. I treat everybody's money like it's mine, and I treat everybody's horse like they're mine, and I need to see the best out of every horse. I think we do a pretty good job of doing this. And again, we're constantly changing, and this is a fluid process. How often do you jug your horses in between races and have blood work done? Do you only scope your horses for poor performances? Yes, we only scope our horses for poor performances. We're not going to go over and above, because I was a trainer before I opened TheStable.ca, and the things that chase owners out of the game are bills. If I want to scope horses just to scope them, you're paying for it. If I want to take blood work on a horse, again, these are costs that are going to get passed on. And as far as jugging horses, yes, in the heat of the summer we'll jug horses. We also have vitamins like when they're water. We have oral jugs that we give them. We try to keep away from the intravenous stuff as much as we can, because every time you put something into a horse, there's positive, same as yourself, there's positive and negative. So we try to keep it as simple as we can, and I think when we're looking at our results overall, I think we've done a pretty good job. So are you interested in broadening your horizons in Australia? Yes, we are. We'll broaden our horizons anywhere we can. It's funny because over the last few months we've had a number of breeders from Australia and New Zealand that have contacted me about getting involved, sending their horses directly to us if we had affiliate trainers in Australia and New Zealand to work with them. And I think it'll be a great mix for us. The thing I love about Australia and New Zealand, there's no licensing, right? We don't have those issues over there. For some reason, they don't feel the need to license people. So what we have is a good place to race, and it looks like they're really restructuring their entire harness racing program, towards the 21st century. I got that feel when I was overseas with them. It was a great feeling. It was good to be there. So are we going to buy horses? Yes, if we have the opportunity, we certainly will. I hope we have a lot of fun with our two horses. They'll be starting to race in March of next year, so we might even line up a trip to go to Australia to watch those horses race. I know I'd love to visit again. So Angie does a great job providing written updates on her horses. She certainly does. How come we are not getting the same from other trainers? Well, simply put, Angie and Rob have 6 horses or 7 horses in Illinois or whatever they have. Andrew Harris has about 60, and Scott DiDomenico has around the same, I would say. They have multiple owners, multiple horses. When we're sending our horses there, it would be great to have these written things come in, but I think most of you have understood by now the reason TheStable.ca is TheStable.ca is because of our communication. And the lack of communication throughout the industry is a staggering problem, but we can't force these trainers. I could say, hey, Andrew Harris, I'm not sending you Knockdown Dragger to White Tiger. I'm going to send it to a guy that can have a written update. There has to be give and take. And as this process goes on, we will have better communication with our trainers. We're doing the best we can. I probe Andrew for answers on the horses, and again, we're going to try and get those answers out to you in a paragraph or so form. But to think that I'm going to get a paragraph, well, you saw Ron Burke last year, a great guy, had the colt for us, and it was really tough to get any answers out of him. It's just the way it is. You know, it's an epidemic for a lot of horsemen, but these guys work really hard all day also, deal with their clients also, probably that come to the barn, deal with the business side of racing, then they go to the track and race all night, and they don't believe that sending out these updates are as important as we believe they are. So we're doing the best we can. We're trying to work with them, but I understand Angie does a great job, and hats off to her. Her and Rob do a great job pretty near in every aspect of training our horses, but a much smaller stable, a much different outlook on racing. When turning out your 2-year-olds after the racing season, why not send them south where the grass is green and grow? Sure, it costs more, but let the group decide. A lot of the decisions that are made where the horses go are up to me. And it's up to me for a lot of reasons. I take responsibility for what takes place in this barn, and there has to be a captain for every ship. And we send our horses to Ohio, where there's lots of grass, and they get to run all winter. White Tiger had a great winter, so did Yes, so did West 52nd. Oso Pine, although he hasn't raced great so far this year, had a great training back, was great in training back, and I hope he'll start picking up also. This idea that you send them to Florida and it's just some sort of magic potion in the grass and they come back and they look wonderful is just nonsense. You know, we send our horses where we see fit, and it really has nothing to do with money. We did pay more in American funds to have these horses turned out there. And what was the name of the farm, Abe? Winterwood. Winterwood is where Ron Burke turns his horses out in the winter in Ohio, and it's where we're going to continue to turn our horses out for a lot of them in the winter. They do a great job there. The horses came back and looked fantastic, and that is the most important thing. Horses can't talk, but their coats can, right? Their feet can. The way they look when they come back with a shine in their eye and they're 100 pounds overweight and their feet look great, that's how they're supposed to come back in. So it really doesn't, I'd ship them to Mara's if we could get them back in time and they come back looking like that. That's the most important thing. So this idea that we're going to send them to Florida and they're going to come back better, it just isn't reality. So how do you as a trainer determine the best way to get the most out of a horse and identify different training methods to use to get the best to get the best for each individual horse? That's a great question. You know, I've been training horses a long time, and the one thing you have to recognize as a trainer is there's never one size fits all, right? We treat all these horses on a case-by-case basis. You guys know that. You've heard me talk in the videos about training horses. Sebastian, you may have made a break tonight, but that's the first break he's made in a long time. I'm almost positive I know why he made a break tonight. But having said that, he was trained down quite a bit different, wasn't he, than the other horses. The Ontario horses, well, there's another question in here about them. They get trained down a little bit different too. So although it looks like this is maybe to some people a cookie-cutter model, I think the people that watch us from week to week know that it's far from that. We treat every horse on a, as I said, a case-by-case basis. And the decision is made by me simply because I do my best to recognize strengths and weaknesses, work on the strengths, work on the weaknesses, polish the strengths, turn the horses into the best form of them we can. I think we've had a pretty good run at the start. Now, it's easy to say, oh, Anthony, you won a maiden with globetrotting. Yeah, we won a maiden her first lifetime start ever, 59 last quarter and 27-4. Havana Unana, 59. Harness AM, 2 minutes. I think, and there's another question later on that deals with a lot of this, but at the end of the day, we do the best we can for each horse is what I'm trying to get at. So what is meant when a horse knuckles over? Another great question. So for a number of reasons, it could be a simple thing as the horse needs shod and their feet are too long behind. It could be as something as a little more severe as the horse may have EPM. and they're very weak in the stifles. It could be simple physical maturity. The horse in particular is weak in the stifles. Perfect example, sometimes things happen. Knuckles over a lot. Time al Kazam, knuckles over a lot. What happens is they'll catch their toes and they'll knuckle over and they'll stumble. You'll see them stumble. This can actually cause damage if it happens enough times. That's why we've changed the shoes quite a bit on sometimes things happen. And for our clients, no, we've had them on marquee. This is an expensive EPM medicine, but at the same time, there hasn't been any knuckling over. Horse schooled very, very well this morning in 2-1. I thought he was fantastic. If you'd have told me this colt in particular would be in 2-1 in June, I would be surprised, and I am, and happy. So knuckling over is simply when you see the horses stumble behind, they catch their toe, knuckle over. Now, they can injure their pasture if it's really bad, so it's not something you want to just dismiss on a regular basis. It's something that we've tried to control with Time al Kazam, and sometimes things happen. Particularly, I think we've done a good job with that. That is knuckling over. Next, the heavy. Now, this is an important question, and I want to get it right. The heavy training on 2-year-olds produce early wins at 2, and they tail off as the season goes on. A much lower number of horses are competitive as 3. This seems to be a trend. Is it because of the training techniques or purchase of lesser pedigree or valued yearlings? Fully understanding that the most money are generally made at 2 and 3. Great question. A little false. So the tailing off as the season goes on, I disagree. White Tiger equaled the world record his second last start last year. The last start for West 52nd was 58, a 7-length romp at Northfield. I don't know, except for his mile and 55, I don't know if he's ever looked better. Yes, continued to race good. Now, I assume a horse like Oso Pine, he tailed off a little bit as the year went on and had struggles this year. We had to put him on Lasix throughout the summer, and that changes a horse sometimes. So between the physical maturity and the overall issues, if there is some with the 2-year-olds, you will see some of them tail off. Towards the end of the year, the reason we changed our entire program in Ontario, we personally did at the stable, was because I felt our horses were too tired at the end of the year. That's why you're just seeing them qualify now when our other horses are on the racetrack. In regards to the 3-year-olds being less competitive, it's because we have less competitive 3-year-olds. You know, I don't think overall are our horses less competitive. White Tiger was 8-5 out of the 7-hole in Philadelphia the night in the hardest division in Pennsylvania when he raced last week when his hobbles broke. Yes, West 52nd again have excelled. You look at a horse like Sunshine Inn, she hasn't excelled, but she's doing what she can, right? That's at the end of the day, I think expectations need to be looked at before overall issues or techniques with training. Our hopes get in the way of the reality of what these horses can do, and it's my job to make sure that they're in where they can win. And we have this talk all the time. I'll be the first to admit, I'm not sure I did a great job of that in the winter and the spring. I really thought some of these horses would come back better than they did, and it didn't work out. But as far as having the horses ready to go, that's our job. Are our horses right now for Pennsylvania, Ohio, except for a very rare break from Sebastian Yu, recently anyway, are ready to go for next week. And I think they'll show up throughout the summer. Now, you're right in the fact that, do they tail off? They can't go forever, you know, and we can't have them great forever. We're going to have them good as long as we can and make as much money as we can with them, turn them out and hope they come back great at 3. But you are right in the fact that we are buying value-based horses. So are we always going to be able to beat $200,000 yearlings with $20,000 trotting fillies and colts? Probably not. At some point, that pedigree will likely catch up, and the playing field will be leveled, and then we might be in the very deep end of the pool. So this is horse racing. It's not for the faint of heart. It can get really tough sometimes. I know that. I owned a piece of Johan the other day, and I felt the burn of that in the worst way. And you know, I think every one of our clients in one aspect or another have been touched by some tough racing, and it's tough. But again, I hate using this cliche because it is a horrible cliche, but you know, that is racing. So moving on, are any of our horses aiming for a Kentucky Sire Stakes? Possibly. I'm going to let them tell us if they're ready for Kentucky. You know what's waiting for us in Kentucky. Every expensive horse that was purchased in 2018. So if we have horses that are sharp and their schedule allows us to get them to Kentucky and they're eligible in Kentucky, then by all means, we can take them to Kentucky. And this will tail in to another great question in just a few minutes. Who determines what stakes a horse should be staked to? The easy answer is I do. The little more complex is we have a group of people I bounce off ideas off, and I do the best I can. Keep in mind, I'm well aware that we've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get horses in Grand Circuit events and have yet to win one. We've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep horses eligible to the Breeders' Crown and the Hambletonian, haven't won them yet. Does that mean we stop keeping them eligible to these good stakes? That's a great question. I don't think so, but it's not just my money. So we're constantly, again, reevaluating our numbers. Was it worth us keeping these horses entered into these races? Are we going to continue to enter them in them? How do we project that better? Because we certainly can't. I think Sebastian Yu is as good a colt as I've had. Again, I was expecting a big mile tonight. He made a break and let us down. That's racing. But he's only eligible in Pennsylvania. We didn't keep him eligible in anything else. You would think, if I had a crystal ball, I would know that that was a talented colt and he should be entered in other stake races. I didn't, because he wasn't at the time. So the easy answer, again, who makes the decisions? I do. But I do take into account information, questions, emails from people. And you guys know that. There isn't a person out there watching this or that will watch this that can say, oh, I can't get a hold of Anthony. Oh, Anthony won't take my call. Anthony won't answer my email. If I don't answer your email, it's probably because I had 37 of them. It's sitting in my draft box. I started to answer it and I fell asleep. Or I was doing something else. And I apologize for that, but it has happened. So we're going to move on. How do you decide and when? Oh, this is a great, great question. How do you decide and when will we be informed about which way our horse is going in staking schedule? Example, is he or she going to the A stake or lesser stakes? That is a tremendously great question. I wish I had an answer for you. So what I mean by that is I can tell you right now. I can run through them right now quick with you. I hope I don't miss anybody. Ohio, next week, Buckeye Stakes, Phillies Division. Susie K. Overdue Mission will be going to the Buckeye. The Sire Stakes, Spend That Money, Globetrotting, Ale Sun, and Compass Rose, D.C. On the Colts side, the Buckeye, we have Sometimes Things Happen. I'm missing one horse. Sometimes Things Happen, and Crazy Mission. On the Sire Stakes, this might surprise you. Bend Over is going in the Sire Stakes just because of the way he qualified and how professional he looked the other day. I couldn't have told you that before I went behind the gate the other day. It would be absolutely impossible. Also, Rose Run Valiant schooled great today. He's going to the Sire Stakes. Yours, if you want it, was second and 59. Not really an impressive mile from this colt tonight. Obviously, he wasn't, I don't think he was on the top of his game tonight. Could have been a million things going on. We watched Beach Boutique falter badly the other night. We drew her blood the day after she raced, as we will this colt's blood. Her blood, her AST, her muscle count was through the roof. For those horsemen out there, her AST was 4,197, just shy of 4,200, certainly in no shape to race, but going slow miles, we couldn't tell. Mario warmed her up last trip, said she felt great. Ripped a shoe off, and her AST was high. Just a mess, but we can fix that. Again, maybe something similar with yours if you want it tonight. He'll be heading to the Sire Stakes next week. Emerald Miss, last 3 quarters, 124 and 2, a mile, 56 and 4. She gave me a shiver, a little deja vu from her sister a few years before. Emerald Miss will be heading to the Sire Stakes in Northfield also. Pennsylvania, we have, where is this written down? I had it written down right here. Thought I did. Yep. Sire Stakes, just for me and you, is heading to the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes. 58 and 3 mile the other night, fantastic mile. Path of Totality is heading to the Stallion Series. This was tough. It's a fast filly. I'd like to let her graduate. She's just not mentally paying attention the way she should. Incredibly fast filly, but I think we're going to start her in the Stallion Series. Rose Run Versatile. Amy and I own a big chunk of this horse. She was brought in privately for us. I'm getting a dirty look from my wife right now. I'm taking her to the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes. She can leave. She can follow. She's handy. Let's take advantage of that and see what she can do. I'm going to enter her in the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes with Tim Twaddle. Nancy Allison, a little erratic today. I'm going to tell you what. Nancy's going to be a problem. And not a problem. A problem in the fact that we're trying to get her. We've always tried to get Nancy under control. If she wants to behave, she's going to. It's going to be a chore. She's going to be warmed up, have a lot of weight on this week, see if we can get her racing well. She's obviously going to the Stallion Series. Dave, one of our clients, said, why don't you keep her behind and race her here? That's a great question, and that crossed my mind. We could. If she goes out and races poorly, flat out poorly in the Meadows, I may bring her back home, because leaving her with another trainer when she's not ready to start going, you're giving her to a new guy, like a fresh slate, fresh set of eyes. In this case, I don't think it's going to help. So that is on the back of my mind also. Miss Mischief Maker, a filly I touted all year. She just hasn't done enough to get her to the Sire Stakes. She's going in the Stallion Series on Monday. Harness AM, she's done enough. She's going to the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes. I'm sorry if I missed somebody on the Colts side. Willpower Fashion School this morning in 2 minutes. Kevin swears he's a Sire Stakes horse. I want him to be so bad. I just don't know if he is. We might take him to the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes. It's almost a coin flip right now. It's a little bit later, too. We got another week or so. Sebastian Yu, he's definitely going to be going to the Sire Stakes. I think this horse is easily rectified. I'm not concerned with what I saw tonight. As I said, I don't think you're going to be able to put his nose on the gate and have him stay put together in that scenario. You might do it in the qualifiers. You might do it sometimes. I don't think you're going to do it on a regular basis. I would rather see this horse brought into position. Listen, Louis Philippe is a world-class driver. He just is. But in this case, with this horse, I would have liked to see him feed him into the gate, and he just didn't tonight. I think the horse got a little wound up. We didn't get a fast mile into him, so it's been 2 weeks. They lose their mind a little bit sometimes, and he made a break. So I believe he's going to be heading to the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes. So Jason's going to have all the horses. Now, we do have a little hiccup. Excellent Nation ended up with either a bruise or a line or something in his pasturing. The line doesn't make sense to me. The training schedule he had, how he seemed, how he looked, how he behaved, how he was the other day when we took him to the vet, does not look like a line to me. But actuaries don't lie. There was a notch there, but it could be naturally occurring. It may not be. So what we're going to have to do with him is stand him for 7 to 10 days, re-x-ray, re-evaluate. There's definitely a bruise there also. Is that contributing more than we think it is or less than we think it is? The time in the stall will help. Obviously, he's going to miss the first truck ride to Ohio. Not the end of the world. This is a colt with blazing speed, and as I said to our clients last night, this is not a roll the dice situation. You roll the dice and he does break that bone, that could be career ending. Definitely career diminishing. So we can't do that. We have to look out for the horse first and foremost. Excellent Nation. I think it's a bruise. We're going to find out in the next 10 days. What else do we got here? Rolling through here. Next, general questions about racing. After a horse has competed his 3-year-old stake season, will the stable compete with overnight races or look to sell? That's a very subjective. A lot of these are subjective questions. You're talking about a case-by-case basis. I don't really know if we're going to keep the horse. A horse like White Tiger, yeah, we'll probably retain him. Lots of these horses will retain because they're going to be useful horses for the stable. But if their trajectory makes better sense to sell them, then we'll do that also. So on a case-by-case basis, a very subjective question. So here's a question. I need to clarify this. Why hold back the Ontario 2-year-olds if they're ready to go now before the onslaught of 2-year-olds start racing? Easy money now than racing against so many in the fall. 100% incorrect. 100% incorrect. There is no easy money anywhere in the world. For those of you who think there's easy money, there just isn't. You know, when I say we try to get easy races, we're trying to get a horse like Sunshine Inn in a condition claimer where she can pound them. That's easy racing. But as far as thinking you're going to race your 2-year-olds easy, I mean, they went in 55 the other night and come the last half in 56, I think. There's just not easy racing. What we're trying to do by getting our horses, our Ontario horses ready, either on time or a week late, is we're trying to prolong their career, their racing season. Ontario's racing calendar is much, much, much longer than any other jurisdiction. Definitely, New York's long. Pennsylvania, Ohio are very condensed. I don't like the longer seasons. It's hard on the horses. Our horses were tired last year. I don't want them tired this year. So what we're going to do is have them ready. They're going to requalify this week, and then they're going to come back. They're going to requalify this week, and then they're going to race next week. They have the stakes shortly after that. Some of our horses are in on Friday. You'll know that Trafalgar is in to go. You'll notice that. So is Need Your Opinion is also in to go. Who's the colt that's in to go? Don't Believe Me, Just Watch is in to go also. So in regards to this idea that we're going to start them early and get early money, it's not accurate. And it sounds that way. It could be that way. When I say we're trying to get easy money, what I mean is we're trying to get horses in lesser competition classes. What are the rules about breaking? Great question. What are the rules about breaking? So there's different. The end of this is, are there some circumstances where a horse can break and not have to qualify? Yes, there is. So the horses that are racing in stake races, they need a flat line in 30, most places 45 days. So even if they made a break, like Sebastian Yu made a break tonight, he doesn't have to requalify. He can go right to Pennsylvania and race in the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes. So that's why we weren't really concerned with the horses racing this week. It was almost a free shot because they don't have to qualify. And there is different rules too. You'll note that Really Blue Chip is racing with trotting hobbles on tomorrow in Buffalo. The first time Really Blue Chip ever saw trotting hobbles in her life was Sunday morning. And I didn't feel comfortable. I don't think I can get her around Buffalo without trotting hobbles. I put them on her Sunday. I zipped her. I thought she's ready to go and looks great. So we put the hobbles on her. You couldn't do that in Ontario. In New York and New Jersey, you're allowed to add and subtract hobbles as long as you enter them with them on. You can't do that in Ontario. You have to qualify them on or not. So I'm happy that rule exists in New York. What is the stable's preference for a horse's maximum minimum time off between starts? Again, that's very subjective. We don't want to run them closer than a week. A lot of these younger horses, 7 to 10 days would be perfect for us. But again, some horses with sore feet or they have issues we're trying to manage, that might be a little longer. It would rarely be shorter than 7 days, 6 at the very minimum. What is this, depending on the post position, would you rather leave or get position earlier? Listen, or come from off the pace? I'm a fairly aggressive driver, so I'm always going to pick leave. But when it comes to our babies, I try to race them from off the pace as much as I can, I suppose. I just want them in a position to win. Leave, sit, I don't care. Just get to the winner's circle. And I'm a driver. I've always wanted to win. I've always looked at how I can win. I don't approach a race and say, can I win from off the pace? I just want to look at the path of least resistance to that little place on the other side of the track where everybody gets their picture taken. So, is there any way in the near future that the stable will be able to take care of all the licensing for their clients? In other words, the stable deals with the NRC for the clients. Now, so obviously, yes, we're trying to do that right now. We can't do it for you in the sense that the fingerprints, the forms, they have to be filled in by you. Otherwise, we could just fabricate it and make up clients. So you will have to do some of the legwork, but we're trying to take care of most of the heavy lifting right now. As I said, I've squawked about it and complained about it and sent emails about it, but now Kelly and Scott are really nailing down on that, and they're trying to make a real comprehensive package for everybody, and the underpinning of that package will be for fractional ownership, obviously. So yes, I hope to answer this question, yes, I hope we can. We will see. Can we pressure New York in order to adjust their licensing fees for fractional ownership? There would be a better chance of me getting Donald Trump to intervene. New York does not care what I think. You have two different layers of bureaucracy. You have the New Jersey State Racing Commission and the New Jersey State Wagering Board. It appears both don't like each other and don't work together. The best way to get a license in New York is go to a track. That's sad, but that's the best way to do it. I've worked with a guy in Buffalo. He's a really nice gentleman on the phone. He's taking care of a lot of our clients for us. So we're trying to work with these people. Blue Chip Bloodstock is really, Blue Chip Farms is really going to take this package of Kelly and really push it to New York because they know TheStable.ca, outside of a couple of people, is the biggest volume buyer of yearlings in North America. We are. And we're not shopping in New York that much. And that's a big hindrance for a place like Blue Chip. So Blue Chip Farms has really they're going to take the bull by the horns here and really try to get all the breeders on board to say we need to do something and get this taken care of, or it's going to be a real problem moving forward. Okay. How about, did I skip something here? No, I did not, I don't think. Okay. So general questions about buying yearlings. How about groups of people purchasing multiple horses in specific jurisdictions? That's a great idea. We did a little bit of that with the global group, not necessarily jurisdiction, but like-minded people, I think. We did that with the global group was a group of people. We put together 515 shares of horses, and 30 lots were sold to clients that seemed interested to do that. They were a little more expensive, but at the same time, it was a different group. It's a much more fluid group and much more focused on keeping the best and moving the inferior horses even quicker than we can. So I liked that idea. I think this is a great idea also. And I know that Kelly and Eric, Eric runs the site and Kelly's obviously in charge of a lot of this, they're looking at where our groups are situated and if people would like to buy into specific groups. Like Pennsylvania clients, would you like to buy Pennsylvania horses first and foremost? If you won't, that's great. But we're going to try and start looking at exactly what you're talking about also, saying, hey, we have X amount of clients in Pennsylvania these are the Pennsylvania horses we want. Would you be interested? Do you want to be involved? Do you want to look at buying with us before the sale? And if so, how would you like to do that? Great question. I really like it. Who decides which yearlings to purchase? I do. Me. And the reason I do that is the entire pillar, one of the biggest pillars of our operation is value-based purchasing of yearlings. So I want to go and look at the horses, see what they look like. And you guys know this that have been with me, the amount of time and effort we put in to finding these horses. We look at what we think they're worth on the catalog, take into account the video, take into account again, pull them out at the sale, look them over, look again at them again, look at the pedigree page, look at the horse, and decide what they're worth. Anything under that amount would put that horse in play. This is a value-based purchasing operation. So the easiest way to answer this, who decides which yearlings to purchase? I do. In your opinion, is it better to buy, this is a great question, is it better to buy a yearling from the U.S. or from Canada, the London sale, taking into consideration the exchange rate and staking for the horses, example, Pennsylvania, Ohio versus Canada? That's a sucker's bet. I think the exchange rate does not do justice. And I'm trying to say this the easiest way I can. For those of you that go to the Kentucky sale a week before London and then walk into the London sale, you know what I'm talking about. The horses are growing a little bit different. They're a little bit bigger. They're not really... a lot of people look at their Canadian dollars and say, I don't want to give 30% on my dollar. I don't want my dollar worth 70 cents going across the border. But in a lot of cases, the reality is you're actually paying more in London because a lot of these people that think they're getting a great deal because they don't have to give away exchange rate money, they end up pushing the price up. And this is why we don't buy a ton of horses in London, is because I think it's very difficult to buy horses in Ontario and buy horses, especially at the London sale. No disrespect to either the breeders or the London sale. I'm happy to buy them. But when I set that ceiling price and these horses just blow right by it, I'm not going any deeper than that. I don't think I'm doing our clients any justice doing that, so we don't keep doing that. So in regards to your question about the exchange rate, I think you should just take the exchange rate right into your question. Set an American price on your yearlings if you're purchasing them yourself or in conjunction with us. Set an American price on your horse and stick to that price. I think you might find as good or better horses doing it that way as you would worrying about an exchange rate at the London sale. Can we change the names of yearlings? Kelly says absolutely not. She's kind of wrong. We can, but she gets angry. See, right now she's yawning. She's rolling her eyes. If we do it early, Kelly's biggest problem is this. She goes through, it's tedious work tagging all these horses. So you can only imagine tag a horse in a video, tag a horse in a photo, tag a horse in this, that, and then you change the name. All these tags are screwed up. I see where she's coming from, but at the same time, you know, if we have a horse named Smelly Diaper, I'm going to change the name of the horse. So in that regard, yes, we can change the name, but we'd have to do it quickly. I had sent a message out saying, hey, we had a client that wanted to change, Kenny wanted to change the name of Rooney Blue Chip. I was fine with it. I really don't care. Kelly was really dead set against it. A couple of our clients didn't want to also for various reasons, but I understood where Kelly was coming from. Geez, we're late in the season. It didn't dawn on me, so we didn't go ahead with that change. If we have a horse with a horrible name, I think right away off the bat we can change it, but it's not something we're going to look to do. Are you going to buy any more yearlings in Australia? Possibly. Again, we're value-based. If we find value, if we have some luck in Australia with the ones we bought and we find value in Australia, by all means, we will go back. If we have a lot of fun, who doesn't want to go to Australia for a couple of weeks in the winter to watch their horses race in Australia? Isn't that going to be fun? I like Jamaica, but I would love to go watch horses race. Our horses race in Australia? Great, I love it. So, yes, we possibly can. I guess this is a real pilot project, this Australia-New Zealand project. We're going to see how that goes this year. Would you pay very close attention to this? Everybody out there who has horses or has friends that are breeders, would you take a homebred yearling by one of your clients? Absolutely. We do it all the time. This is a pillar of the stable business model, is allowing smaller operations who would rather either keep a piece of their horse or deal with us, train their horse down and sell their horse as shares with us. We have tons of horses. That's how I got Lawmaker, right? That's how he came to our barn. We have tons. Trafalgar, who's about to race, came to us. Capistrano, the same way. There is a multitude of horses that have come to us in this way, and I love doing business. need your opinion. Matt Chappell's filly. She's racing at Mohawk Friday. Qualified awesome. There's another one. I mean, I love getting horses from different clients and working with them. So do we? Yes. Will we? Absolutely. I would absolutely love to. Ever think of an auction site for selling? That way if someone wants to sell their guaranteed auction on their shares, shares don't sit there stagnant. They shouldn't sit there stagnant anyway. We have the market, don't we? And my only problem is if we get into dumping these shares and selling them, I thought it might be a good idea to do that where we could work with OnGate or something like that to get new clients on board. But then again, they're getting thrown to the wolves, right? Because maybe they don't want to be stables of the client or clients of the stable. Maybe they don't know if they really want to, but they want to buy a piece of this horse. There ends up being conflicts. I mean, we built the stable market page so that people can move their shares whenever they want. I mean, most people that can't move their shares, it might be that the shares are just too high. And as far as moving your shares in an auction format, I think by reducing the price of your shares, it's what's going to happen with an auction anyway. If you can't move your shares of a horse for $200, thinking that an auction is going to do it, I'm not really sure that it would. But again, we're open to anything. We're open to discussing this with our clients, and if this is something our clients would like to do, happy to work with them to do it. Could you maybe have a hard minimum or maximum for selling horses in office in the I know where we're going with this. Possibly have a system put in place of various guidelines of horses. So the problem is I've seen some shares that are come in really low and shares that are really high. It's not often this happens, but for instance, knockdown drag-out shares were being sold last week for $2,500. That's a lot of money. You know, where would we cap that ceiling at? She's worth a lot of money. So where would that cap be? I mean, selling for his minimum, I mean, if somebody just wants to dump their shares, they can make it $1 if they want, or $0, I suppose. But as far as that ceiling for how much, I don't know. And I think if there's somebody putting ridiculous amounts on out there, we can simply just talk to them on a case-by-case basis and say, hey, what were you thinking with this? Did you make a mistake, or is this what you want to do? I don't know if this is an epidemic or not. I don't think it's a huge problem. I think we can discuss this. Since I only own one share, would I have to sell if the majority wanted to? Absolutely. We have a 90% rule on the stable as far as selling profitable horses. So selling horses for a profit, if 90% of the ownership group agrees, the horse is sold. That's in your contract, and we made it that way a couple years ago for a number of reasons. Do all interested clients have to agree to sell a horse? No. Again, we have that 90% rule there. And when it goes to a horse that I've deemed a horse like Fusspot, broke my heart. I thought Fusspot was one of our best horses all year. She just got that attitude on where she didn't care if she wanted to race. It's impossible to race a horse like that. If a horse just doesn't have the desire and the work ethic to be effective, they need to go. So that's my decision ultimately at the end of the day. Where are we at here? Will you continue to be more aggressive plan moving horses who are underperforming? Absolutely. I mean, we're not trying to drift to the right side where it's just, hey, you're not making money, get out. We have lots of horses. My wife does not like Master Saver, and I love him to death. So I can say that. I own almost 90% of that horse. She just doesn't like the fact that he's there racing in a condition claimer. I love racing horses that want to win and want to race, and I'll always have a spot for them. What? I'll always have a spot for them. I like Master Saver. He's not a great horse. He's not going to make a ton of money. I like racing him, and I like being around him. I like horses that try. And yeah, he could be a pet. Yeah, he could be a pet. Kind of a pet. So in that regard, if you don't want Master Saver, if you have shares, if people have shares of Master Saver, they can sell them. I'll be happy to buy them if they're priced appropriately. I like the horse and I like racing them. So in regards to the other side of that, if horses are deemed ineffective, we are going to move them out. And there has to be a hard line on that. It's really a choice by me. I have to have some direction when it comes to what we're doing here and how we're trying to do it. What factors influence the decision to sell a horses at an auction versus privately sell? For example, a number of 2-year-olds sold quite poorly at the Ohio auction, and there were high expenses related to shipping them there and sale prices. Was that just bad luck sale, or could we have gotten more money privately, or was it fair for them to have true value? Great question. I love the follow-ups on the bottom. There were poor prices because they were poor horses, and they just weren't good horses. If you look back at the sale before that, we did very, very well. I think timing plays a role. Nobody really wants a 2-year-old sold from a large stable that races 2-year-olds in the middle of May kind of speaks volumes. But at the same time, we don't need these horses. We sold Fuss Pot privately yesterday for $7,500. We wanted to move her out. So really the best way I can put it is when I made the decision they need to go, they just need to go. And we're not saying, hey, just get out. We want to make sure that we save as much money as we can for our clients. This ties into a question later on. My job is still to try and salvage what we can, but understanding that every day bills are spent on these horses, time is of the essence. So the sale came up, we put them in the sale, we moved them out. Didn't have a great sale with the 2-year-olds, but I think that's because they just weren't good horses. Your last line speaks volumes. The horses they just weren't good horses. So related question, and this is the question, would there ever be a point where the stable would consider donating a horse to rescue rather than selling it to ensure it finds a good home? If I've given horses away that don't go to good homes. I thought they went to a good home, and then a couple of years later you find out maybe they're not in the best home, and I've had to buy them back, and in some cases buy them back. I've had slaughterhouses call me and say, hey, we have a horse here that you used to own a long time ago. I bought the horse back. We're all big boys and girls, and I try to do the best I can for all the horses. Would I donate a horse? Sure. But my job is still to recover what I can. If the horses aren't effective here, that doesn't mean they're not effective somewhere else. And I don't want to, what's that? Yeah, I donated Mr. Caper. He's almost ready to go again, too. So we gave away a horse last year, Mr. Caper. Many of you might remember him. He injured his leg quite badly. His year was over, possibly his career. The kid and the father that we donated the horse to, I told them if they wanted to race him, they could. There was no clause to say you can't race him, and he's actually been in 212 and training back. So in that regard, we did donate him to a good home, and we would donate a horse if I knew it was going to a good home and I knew it wasn't going to be able to race. So yes, that's a very, very tough question. I hope I answered it as best I can. Certainly don't want to lie, but at the same time, we are trying to recover what we can for our clients. The new message board section, oh, blah, blah, blah. I don't like the message board. I've said that to everybody. I have a real problem with it. Everybody knows they can communicate with me, and I like the fact that people can come on and voice their opinions. The problem is when those opinions should really be directed to me, it's a little bothersome. Some people say, hey, I don't want to bother you. Hey, man, you're not bothering me. Or lady, you're not bothering me. I'm happy to take your questions. When it comes to what, and a perfect example was when we decided to race Yes and West 52nd in the Gin Blossom. Great, well-written posts on there about why one of our clients may like to go there or didn't want to go there. At the end of the day, it's my decision. I have to decide what's the best route. I'm not always going to be right, but had those people called me or emailed me, we could have had that back and forth. But rather than that, it goes on the board. I don't go on the message board unless somebody alerts me to a problem or alerts me to a very specific question that was geared towards me, but it wasn't sent to me. It was put on the message board. So I like the theory of the message board. I just don't like the message board. And I'll leave it as is because some of our clients use it, but it's 2 minutes left. Oh, it's on thin ice. So, and we're getting low here. Would you prefer a question about horses be asked to Anthony or the trainer? Great question. I'm in contact with the trainers all the time. You can ask it to me or the trainer. It's going to be the same answer. The only problem is you may not get a response right away from the trainer. You should probably get one from me soon. Why is the number of publicly available shares bounce between sold out and shares available frequently on some horses? Great question. Two biggest answers is sometimes people want to give their shares back and end up trading me for other shares, in which case I just put them back on the market. Another way would be if a breeder of the horse retained shares and then in turn wanted to send put some of those shares for purchase, potentially for purchase. So those are the two biggest reasons. Got to run through these quick. Some of the horses who qualify for June 18 are requalifying. Why? Just want to put work into these horses. The horse for the States already left, so we raced some of them and they sent out. The Mohawk horses, we just want to get a little more work into them before their first races. You have a top 10 list. Can you provide 2 or 3 value horses publicly for private available? Absolutely not. I'm not giving anybody any advice on where to spend their money at in the stable. That would be a bit unfair because I really don't know, and I don't know what you're after. If you're after an Ontario bred horse or you're after a trotter or a pacer, I'm happy to discuss it with you, but I'm not an investment broker, and I don't want to go out there and tell people where to put their money. That would be unfair, and to me, it just feels wrong. When your horse is racing and you can't make it to the track of the day, how about getting win photos? We're working on that. We have a number of options. It's very fluid and it's tough to do, but if you send me an email and say, hey, could you get me a photo, I'll do my best to get that to you and get the photographer to send it to you. Does stable have a set way of feeding, hay, and whatnot? we always feed hay cubes, and we always feed the same feed to the babies. If the babies aren't eating, we change their feed up. If they're getting too fat, we may change their feed up as we change their training program. So again, this is a very, very case-by-case basis. Can the vet bills be explained more? We do them in a line-by-line basis best we can. If you have a question about the vet bills, you're more than welcome to ask me about them. I'm happy to get the answer for you. I don't see all the vet bills that come from the vet to the bookkeeper and then out to you. Have you ever considered buying aged horses? That will be coming soon. Obviously, with the debacle of the fall, I do want to buy some horses this fall. If you're out there and you're saying, hey, I'd like to buy some race horses in the fall, well, you've come to the right place, because we are going to buy some race horses in the fall. When we turn some of these babies out, we want to fill in those gaps with some aged horses that are racing. We may have some of our own, and we will also be purchasing some. Do you have a couple of quick questions, Kelly? Quick?
No, we're good.
No, you're lying. I know you have a couple of questions.
The Stolen Dance in full.
Stolen Dance is not, I can't say she's not in full. I don't know if she gets checked on Monday. Great news. Everybody knows or should know. Dewey Ann, our first broodmare ever in full. She's in full to my MVP. We're waiting to hear if Stolen Dance is in full. If she's not, technically we have one more shot. I'm almost thinking, do we just wait and breed her in March and try and get a really early full? At this point, we're going to get a June full, and some of our clients out there knows what happens when we start buying June fulls. It's not a great situation. These fulls take a little time. They're a little later to progress and mature. So if we don't get her in full now, maybe we just wait till March. It's crappy, I know, but she's a Muscle Hill, and it might be worth waiting. Hey, she might be in full come Monday. I don't know. As far as the breeding aspect, I rely completely on the breeding firm. Jeff Ruck does a great job. He's got Dewey Ann in full. Let's see if she has the other filly in full. We'll know on Monday. Any more?
Good.
Kelly's cut me off. I have to leave right now. I'm supposed to sign in 2 minutes at Mohawk. It's a 15-minute drive, but I do got a 20-minute grace period. So I wanted to make sure we got to talk to everybody tonight. Big week coming up. We had a decent night with yours if you wanted. A little stumble with Sebastian Yu, but we have really blue chip. First big stake race for me of the year tomorrow with her. Friday, I'm flying to the Meadowlands. I am going to drive Spirit of Dio and Rooney Blue Chip at the Meadowlands. I'm going to stay there the night, fly to Ohio. I'm going to drive West 52nd out of the 9-hole, which is a trailing post behind who? Yes, who's got the rail. I'm going to follow him out of the gate. Hopefully we get away well. The rail's a tough spot, and I hope Ryan Stahl does a good job getting him out of there, because I'm going to be right behind him. So that's Saturday. There's some other drivers from Ontario in town that night. I'm going to get a drive home. Might even race Sunday at Georgian, and then we're back. Pennsylvania and Ohio all next week. I got if there ever is such a year. Oh, I'll take 5%. A smelly diaper. I will be gone away all next week. Mario Bergeron is racing three of our horses in Kawartha Downs on Saturday night. I'm in Ohio. I might go to Georgian Sunday. To be honest, it's going to hinge on Just a Tad. I love Just a Tad. Seems like nobody else can get him around for some reason. If Harry wants to race him on Sunday, I might go and race him in Georgian. Otherwise, I might take the kids and Amy and head right to Pennsylvania, Ohio. My favorite time of the year, other than sale time, starts Monday afternoon at the Meadows. Tune in. We got a lot going on. If you have any questions at all, anything you want to know, send me an email, send me a text, pick up the phone and call me. I'm always available. That's it. I'd love to talk more, but I got to go. Got to go drive War Wheat Ultra in 1 hour's time.
Horse racing is a great sport, and now you can have a horse in the race. Own a little and love it a lot. TheStable.ca is an award-winning horse ownership experience. Purchase as little as 1% of a racehorse and pay a set monthly fee. No surprises, modest investment, low risk, and completely accessible and transparent operations. TheStable.ca offers a unique, engaging racehorse ownership experience and features great customer service and consistent updates about your horse. Our innovative video production team tracks your horse's training progress, and clients are encouraged to visit the horses at any time. TheStable.ca is right for harness racing, and if you want to have a horse in the race, it's right for you too. For more information about The Stable, email Anthony at TheStable.ca or call 519-400-4263.